I decided to make a video for this week rather than writing it like I have the last 2 weeks. Um, Not the easiest video for me to make because, in all honesty, this past IB seminar was the first experience for me in IB since that first week where I've walked away feeling anxious, a little bit uncomfortable, and a little bit sad. I decided to make this video because I'm not so good with writing down my emotions. I always struggle with the right words to put down onto paper or to type out. So I decided if I talked about it, it might come out a little more honest. It might convey emotion. Shaking a little. I was really happy when Nicole brought up the topic of mental health, especially after the seminar on Tuesday, but I wasn't so happy during the class discussion. I struggled with everybody else's struggles to use the word disorder because for me, having that almost fear of the word and conveying it with such negative connotations, it makes me feel uncomfortable. It makes me feel like the stigma is increasing just because we're afraid of using the word disorder. And I raised my hand, or maybe I didn't, I can't really remember at this point, to make the point that I know that when a psychologist or whoever's diagnosing you, when they use that word disorder, they explain to the person being diagnosed that it's not a bad word and it's not about the person as a human, that it's just because there's something in their system mentally that is not working in the proper order, whether it's because it's a mood disorder or their way of thinking or their way of processing thoughts to actions, or an eating disorder. There's something that's not quite right. As somebody who's been diagnosed with a mental disorder, I see no problems with the word. Actually, it sets me with a little bit of ease. I have severe control problems, and to have a doctor and a psychologist tell me that the problem that I have, which is an eating disorder, comes from my brain, something not right in my brain, makes me feel a hell of a lot better than telling me that I'm ill. Because to me, and this is just to me, maybe other people, illness implies that there's an easy cure, like an antibiotic. And antibiotics don't help people who struggle with anorexia overcome their need for control and overcome the depression that comes afterwards when you feel guilt and you feel like it is your fault. I don't know, I think that the discussion today, it was just tense in the classroom and uncomfortable. And I always promise myself that if something like this comes up, that it be a good opportunity for me to raise my hand and share my experiences. But then you sit in an atmosphere like I sat in today, where people's great debates were surrounding not the people that are being diagnosed, but the words being used. And I didn't feel comfortable doing that. I actually was screaming inside. It's an important discussion to have, and it's an important topic for teacher candidates to explore. But I think at the end of the day, whether we use certain words or not, we have to keep the child's interests at heart. There was also another issue brought up where I think actually Jennifer talked about there's some students who decide not to disclose their information to their teacher. And a lot of people are saying, well, as teachers, I feel like we should know. But again, as somebody who's suffered, sometimes you don't want your teacher to know because your teacher might take it upon themselves to try to talk to you. And I know that when I was at my worst, I didn't want to talk about it with a therapist, let alone the teacher who was supposed to be marking my papers and setting assignments, and I wanted to be treated like everybody else, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. Yeah, there was a lot of stuff that happened this week that I guess I could be talking about, but I feel like I needed to unload a little bit because I've been pretty anxious all day in regards to the conversation that we had, and I think it kind of threw me off for the rest of the seminar when we were doing group work in our subjects. I couldn't shake off the feeling that through our need to understand, we're just getting more and more confused. And I know that we need to at least try to understand in order to reach that point of understanding. And I see where people are coming from with mental health literacy and using appropriate words so you don't insult people. But as somebody who has been in the shoes of the people that we're talking about, I don't necessarily agree with everything that's being brought up and everything that's being taught to us as teacher candidates. So we definitely have a lot to learn.